the trial of Alex Murdaugh in Kingstree, South Carolina. One thing you already know from the first couple of hours of this trial, it is going to be a well-tried case. Good lawyers, skilled lawyers on both sides for the state. Creighton Waters, Attorney General Prosecutor in this case, gave a stirring opening statement outlining what he considers to be the damning evidence. Much of it, most of it, all of it really circumstantial, since there's no eyewitness or direct evidence in this case. And then Dick Harpootlian, who is the lawyer representing the defendant, Alex Murdaugh, given something of a stem winder, poking holes in this case, and that is why they have the trial. The prosecution held to the burden of proving beyond a reasonable doubt that Alex Murdaugh killed his wife and his son on the 7th of June, 2021, because the prosecution alleges his life was falling apart. He was being caught up in fraud charges by the law firm that his great-grandfather had founded, which had been the seat of this family's power in this wide swath of South Carolina. This family, the Murdaugh family, held the position of solicitor in that county, prosecutor in that county, for longer than any family held any public office in the United States, including the Bushes or the Adams or anyone. 90 years they held the office of solicitor, and that reputation, that dynasty, his fortune, his life falling apart, the prosecution alleges is the motive for killing his wife and son in a desperate effort, they're arguing, to get the spotlight off of him, or sympathy, or some kind of stopping of the collapse of his life. The defense is saying that's all they got. They don't have enough. Certainly not beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the trial we're going to see here. And so for more, let's bring in our legal analyst, attorney Channa Lloyd, and criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor as well, Bernarda Villalona. Channa, I want to begin with you. This is going to be a circumstantial case. You get two bodies horrifically killed, but really no direct evidence and no blood evidence in this case. It sounds like this is going to be a spirited contest between prosecution and defense. And how do those trials go when it is purely circumstantial evidence?
When we have trials that are purely circumstantial, evidence-based, what you're going to find is jurors are going to look towards the credibility of all the witnesses. They're going to look very intensely on the individuals at hand. It's actually going to make Mr. Murdaugh's testimony even more vital, because when you have circumstantial evidence, these jurors are going to want to hear from him directly. They're going to want to hear what he was thinking, what he was feeling. They're going to want to be able to make that assessment of him with their own eyes. So I think that there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to testify for this particular trial. Hugely risky, of course, because he opens the door to, this man is embroiled in all kinds of problems. This is a little while ago, as he was listening to his defense attorney talk about what happened to his family. The prosecutor says he wiped him out. He killed his wife and one of his sons. His other son is in the courtroom watching this. And Bernarda, I'd like to go to you, put on your prosecutor's hat for a moment. No blood evidence. That struck me. I'm sure Dick Harpootlian hoped that it would strike the jurors. There's a horrifically gruesome, bloody slaughter of his son and his wife, and they couldn't determine conclusively that there was any blood evidence on the defendant or on the possessions that they had from him to bring before a jury. How bad is that?
Well, the defense was walking a fine line, because remember, there is still a motion in limine that's in reserve that hasn't been decided, and that has to deal with the blood spattered expert. So that may blow up in the face of the defense. So I wouldn't have touched that in opening statements. There was no need to. You already got out. There's no eyewitness. There's no video. There's no DNA. You got that out already, so you didn't have to touch the blood evidence. However, he was still effective in the sense of, number one, you told him that he is presumed innocent. Number two, you told him that the prosecution's verdict is beyond a reasonable doubt. Number three, you told him there is no motive. There's pure love. There's video of them loving up on each other. Good family, happy family, apple of his eye. So, and you also, number four, pointed out the weaknesses within the prosecution case. Talking about the cell site is inaccurate, talking about you really need to look at the other evidence that's being presented, because it's not like it seems as a prosecution is presented. But this is just opening statement. I expect to see so much more from this defense, even though they have no verdict.
And I just want to follow up on that, Bernarda. The blood evidence, there is an expert who examined, I guess, that tarp the T-shirt that Alex Murdaugh was wearing, and determined that there was blood evidence on it. But the defense has alleged, and I guess there's a preliminary ruling, the judge doesn't want to see it in evidence at this point, that the expert did a bad job. That the jury shouldn't be allowed to hear evidence that's so tainted by a bad process of testing. But it is, Sean, if I could go to you on this, it is risky if that is not conclusively out of the trial and it comes in, it's going to have a bombshell effect on the jury, isn't it?
Absolutely. If that evidence gets in, that's going to change the trajectory of this trial, because that is the type of evidence that jurors are looking for. It's concrete. They're going to look at that expert and expect to hear something that gives them a lot more definitive information than some of these other circumstantial evidence that's going to come in. Also, they're going to be looking at those cell phone records. That's another concrete, objective record that these jurors are going to be looking at as well.
So that evidence, there'll be witness testimony as well, and perhaps, as Bernarda as Channa suggests, maybe the defendant himself on the witness stand. This trial is going to go on for a while. We're going to continue to cover it, and as I say, it looks like it's going to be a very well-tried case indeed. And Channa and Bernarda, I know you're going to be with us from time to time as we do cover it. Thanks for being with us.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.